As a musician, there's a few basic but really important things you're going to want to know about copyright. First, what is it? Well, copyright is the concept that you as the person who writes a song or creates a recording should have some control over that work. You should be able to benefit from it, and if someone else benefits from it illegally, you have the right to argue for compensation. Technically, your copyright is established the moment your song or your recording is fixed in some kind of permanent format. So that could be writing the lyrics on a piece of paper, it could be recording a demo on the voice memo app on your iPhone, but you own the copyright as soon as you write the thing or record the thing. But there's only so many combinations of notes, so through an intellectual property lens, creativity is really kind of a space race. It's really about who gets to that idea first. So protecting your copyright has a lot to do with establishing the date that your work was created. And in the old days, there was something called a poor man's copyright, where you would mail a CD or a tape to yourself via certified mail. You'd leave it sealed. It would have the government stamp right there with the date, and you would leave it sealed until you needed to bring it before a judge to prove your copyright. The digital equivalent of that might be the timestamp or the date of publish on YouTube or SoundCloud. Now, if your copyright is being infringed and you have to go before a judge, those things are going to be better than nothing, but the best way to protect yourself is to officially register your copyright. In the US, you would do that through the Library of Congress. Obviously, most people in the world do not live in the United States, but there's a chance if you are elsewhere in the world, you could still benefit from a US copyright registration because of something called the Berne Convention, which is an international agreement governing copyright. So check that out, but also, of course, be aware of your own traditions and practices and laws around copyright in your own country. The next thing we should talk about is the two primary forms of copyright with music. One has to do with the composition, which is the song, the music and the lyrics that exist before there's ever a recording of that song. These rights are usually controlled by publishers and or songwriters, and they have to do with music publishing. The other primary form of copyright has to do with a sound recording, which is the recorded track, a recorded version of a song. In the old days, those were often controlled by the label who funded the recording, but these days, more often than not, indie artists own their own recordings and are acting as their own labels. If you want to register the copyright to a recording, you're going to want to use what's called an SR form, stands for sound recording. If you want to register your composition as a songwriter, then you will use what's called a PA form, stands for performing arts. What if you own your recordings and you're the songwriter? So in that case, you can fill out one form to protect both rights. You would fill out the SR form. But the catch is this: the person or persons who own the songs have to be exactly the same as the person or persons who own the sound recording. And if you're doing multiple songs, multiple tracks on an album, let's say, one big collection of songs, the songwriters and the rights owners have to be identical on every single one of those tracks. But if that's the case, do that, you'll save yourself money, you'll save yourself time, and who doesn't want to save themselves money and time?